Welcome to the Limitless Ladies Network podcast, where we are limitless in sharing lessons to advocate and drive insightful, empathetic self-care. The Limitless Ladies Network is dedicated to nourishing minds, educating on self-care, and facilitating transformative experiences. Our mission is to guide women to age with grace, cultivate good health, and build meaningful connections to bring happiness into their lives. We strive to empower the ladies of the community so they may successfully advocate for themselves and embrace a journey of holistic well-being. Please note that the information and opinions shared on this podcast are for educational purposes only and are not intended in any way to be used as medical advice. Please seek a medical professional for any health-related matters, and always refer to our full disclosure in our show notes. Welcome to today's episode. I'm Tammy Dundon, your host, and today I am pleased to announce that I have Stephen Davis to our show. Stephen is a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and seasoned inventor with 35 years of executive leadership experience. His journey into frequency wellness began not in a lab, but at home when members of his family were diagnosed with Lyme disease. After years of misdiagnosis, Stephen began researching options that he found little worked, which I know very much about. That search led him to frequency-based wellness technology, and he built what eventually became known as NIKKI. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you here today. This whole business of mine essentially really started from the fact that I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, which then spawned an autoimmune disease, landed me in a wheelchair for a little bit, and then had to recover. But I truly wanted to be able to educate women on various different holistic wellness alternatives because for me, it also took me almost 3 years from kind of start to finish before I was able to fully be functional again. So I'm so excited to have you here to talk about this wonderful new device that you've created called the NIKKI, which is frequency-based and can help those suffering from Lyme. So tell us about the NIKKI.
Okay, well, let me start with how it came to be. So I'm not a doctor, not a mad scientist. I was a desperate dad. And you can see the NIKKI on the background on my screen on what it looks like. It's kind of looks like an Apple Watch. But my daughter was sick for 12 years. And the first 8 years, we just went from doctor to doctor. And they kept telling me things like it's in her head and like things that I just wasn't buying into. And during that 8 years, she had two sons, and they both were born with significant health issues. One was diagnosed to be autistic, and the other was ADHD off the charts, where it was hard for schools to contain him.
Hmm.
And not that he was violent or anything, he was just a very active little boy. And so 8 years into it, I had a university run some tests on my daughter, and they came back and said, "Hey, we think we found some markers that would lead us to think she had Lyme disease." My response was, "What's Lyme disease?" Wasn't even on my radar. Never even heard of it.
Wow.
This was back in 2015 or before 2015.
Okay.
Uh, and so it just wasn't talked about that much, at least where I'm from in Canada. And so 8 years into it, we got happy. We were happy as a family because now we know what it is. Let's go fix it. And we went out for a couple of years, and did everything that everybody else is doing, and spent tens of thousands of dollars, and got the same results as everybody else, which was very discouraging. And so I said, let's stop. And I hooked up with another guy, and we ended up building a technology that could capture frequencies. We went down a frequency path because I owned 3 clinics at the time, and they were frequency-based clinics. Wasn't the doctor or operator, but we just brought frequency-based technologies into these clinics because we saw the good that they were doing in balancing the brain using musical tones. And so that was my intro into frequencies. And I'd bring my kids in and they would get a little bit of relief, but it would only last for a couple weeks. So I knew there's something there. And so we just started to explore that path. And so I built a device that would capture frequencies. And it's probably about the size of this cup. And what I would do is put any kind of natural plant matter or minerals, whatever natural source that I find, and I can put it in there. I excite it, the plant, it releases its energy. I grab that frequency and I put it on the NIKKI. And
Wow.
it took 74 different plants to find my path to overcome Lyme. And now it's not one frequency at a time, and I found the right frequency. It took all 74 to go into the body at exactly the same time because Lyme likes to hide.
It
It's a
does.
very difficult bacteria to deal with. And so when we did that, it worked the first time. I did a trial in 2016. We put those 74 different frequencies onto the product. And what we do is we load it onto a NIKKI, and then on the back, there's a little red light. And the little red light comes on and it delivers all of these frequencies into the body. And you have to remember a frequency is only information. And so all we're doing is providing the cellular network information. And if you provide the network the right information, it retains it, takes it up through your nervous system into your immune system, and wakes up the immune system to the health issues it's ignoring. And it's because when it gets compromised, it forgets, it doesn't see, like it needs a little encouragement. And we found that path. And so we don't come in with frequencies and deal directly with any of the bacteria, any of the co-infections, mold, parasites. We come in and we wake up your immune system. We equip the immune system with the information it seems to be lacking. It wakes up and it goes after those issues itself. So the body does all the heavy lifting. All we've done is we're very creative on how we deliver that information. And it worked.
That's fascinating. So you were able to derive the frequency of 72, 74 plants.
Yeah, there's even more today.
Wow. And you were able to literally harness those and then take that frequency and then push that into a tiny little device, which I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. Um, to be able to have the body go in and just help to heal itself, right?
That's correct. You know, with if you're in what somebody might call remission,
Mhm.
where you're feeling pretty good and you think that you've got it under control, well, we wake it up because we deal with it and we remove it from your system. It doesn't go into remission, we remove it from your system. And the only way you can do that is if you wake it up because it likes to hide in your cells, it'll hide in your tissue, in your parasites, and so on. And so it's a little tricky, but we found a solution to that. Today, my kids went through this in 2016 in the first trial. They've never used the product since.
Wow.
And they use our product, but for other reasons, not for Lyme disease.
Okay. So
And
that's fascinating to me. As I said, I feel like I'm in remission, like you get it under control. But then any stress that you have, right? And having a business can be stressful. I feel as though it can get woken up again. And I know because my left knee was one of the issues that I was having when I was at my worst, and it started to kind of get inflamed again. And since I've been using this, it has really dissipated the pain, the swelling, and it's gotten better. But you're saying that this wearing it should essentially just remove the Lyme disease itself.
that's right. It'll deal with it, and people are going to herx. And
Yes.
I think anybody with Lyme disease have experienced herxing. And what that really is your lymph get so plugged up that there's no place for the body to get rid of the toxins. And
Mm,
so it's trying to force those toxins out of the body, and it can be uncomfortable. It's
yes.
just that it's short-lived. And so if you can push through that, then you're going to have a very good outcome. My daughter went back and got her teaching degree, and my two grandsons today, the oldest is 18, and he's the one with ADHD. And he's throwing his 87, 90-mile-an-hour baseballs at a university.
Wow.
And if you're a pitcher in baseball, you can't be ADHD off the charts because you need focus, you need calculation, like you need to have it together. And so it's really interesting. The second thing is my grandson, the youngest one, he's 17, and he's the one that they said was autistic. And he's not autistic. He had Lyme disease. He's being trained right now for the 2028 Olympics in LA for swimming.
That's
So
fantastic.
I got my family back and I could have stopped. And because I didn't set out to start a business, I was just a desperate dad trying to overcome a horrific disease with my kids. And I met so many people going to these Lyme support groups that just have no hope. Like they go to these Lyme support groups hoping that somebody's going to come in and say, "Hey, I did this and I'm feeling better."
Right.
But that's very, that doesn't happen very often. And
Mm,
when it does happen, it's not long-lived. And so the results, like you said, you can feel good for a time, but there's different things that can trigger. So stress is a big one
it
uh,
is.
that can trigger this. And so, like I was saying with my kids, teaching that brings on stress. Being athletes at high levels, that brings on stress. And there's no triggers that trigger this for my family. And we've helped thousands of people overcome Lyme disease.
That's amazing. So when we talk about the herxing process, it is a pretty brutal process, right? You get night sweats, you get aches, brain fog, headaches.
Mhm.
There's just a whole host of things that can happen to your body as it goes through this whole detox process. Is that part of what the NIKKI does with the frequency? Because I know you're talking about directly with the Lyme disease itself. Is there part of the frequency that addresses as part of the program? Because I know that there is a program that you have. Does it go through that detox process as it runs each day?
Yes, for Lyme, we built a program. And the program goes 1 minute, and that's going to give you detox and drainage. Then it's going to go 1 minute, and it's going to go after Lyme and all of the co-infections. And then it's going to do 60 minutes of frequencies that are going to start rebuilding your system. Then the next day, it's 2 minutes by 2 minutes by 60. And we want to get you to 30 by 30 by 60. And we do a gradual process because there's so many people that hurts that if you went faster than that, it would just cause too much disruption in their system. And so then they'll stop using it
Hmm.
because it's uncomfortable. And then they'll start it a few days later again. But then they're starting at day one and they're going to go through it'll just keep repeating that same process in the beginning that can be a little uncomfortable. And so you really just need to push through and it will subside over usually a couple days.
So if
And
you've started the program and you start on day one and then something happens and you don't do it the next day, you should reset and start over.
um, it's going to automatically move. So every day it's going to move a minute. And so you can go back and start again.
You're right.
But
So I'm just saying if something happened where, your NIKKI was not charged or something, or you left it and you ended up going away for the weekend or something and you ended up leaving it at home, so you missed a couple of days, is it advisable that you do a reset and kind of start over again just to make sure that you
that-
get the continuous every day?
that's right. You want
Okay.
to you want to do it every day. It's like if your doctor prescribed to you an antibiotic and says take it for 7 days or 14 days, if you don't do it the way they recommended, you're not going to get the outcome that you're hoping for.
Right.
And that's no different than anything out there. Same with us. It doesn't matter if it's a supplement or if it's what we do. In supplements, everybody's taking lots and lots of supplements.
Mm-hmm.
And, supplements are just a natural form of frequencies. People don't realize that, but that's all they are is frequencies. And so when you're taking these supplements, it's what they do is they identify the source plant, source. They grind it up and blend it together, put it in a capsule. The capsule becomes the delivery system, and you take it. And with us, we go through a similar process. We identify the source, but we grab the frequency from that source and put that on a NIKKI instead of in a capsule. And the NIKKI is the delivery system, and we have a very unique delivery system. We never deliver one frequency at a time. You're not going to overcome anything one frequency at a time. Even supplements don't just have one frequency in them. They'll grind them up and then they'll blend them with other things.
Right.
And those other things are actually frequencies. And so it's really interesting because everything is energetic, everything vibrates, it's
Yes.
all natural. And so you can't get a pharmaceutical, you can't go grab those frequencies because you need a natural base in order to grab the frequency.
Absolutely. And so as you were talking, there's co-infections, right? So there's Babesiosis, or Babesia, there's Bartonella, there's a whole host of different other ones.
Yeah.
How do you know like what I guess you're stacking them in there? And how do you know like which ones will be the most optimal for your immune system? Because everyone's different. So how does that frequency, I guess, know how to get into my cells specifically versus, your cells?
Everybody is different, but what's the common thing here is Lyme isn't. Lyme
Hmm.
is Lyme. And so we don't chase symptoms. We put everything that the body needs to deal with all of the Lyme and the co-infections and things like mold and parasites, which are not co-infections. They just decide to come and attack because you become easy prey
Right.
because your immune system's so compromised.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that I do have those, kind of frequencies on the NIKKI that
Yeah.
I'm wearing. And are those like they're separate, but you also have the Lyme program. So is that something that should be run in addition to the Lyme program, like the mold and the others?
Yeah. So you run your you can do this just with the Lyme program.
Hmm.
It's called Lyme Daily, and you do that daily. And then there's 9 other programs that deal with mold and parasites. There's different things that happen, and those are by choice. So we let you have that choice. So if you're experiencing mold, you can click just the mold on and deal with that, and so on. We're dealing with the co-infections in the Lyme Daily.
Okay.
So all of that's being dealt with during the Lyme Daily, but then there's support programs, 9 other support programs that come with it. And there's never one frequency. There's always anywhere from 50 to 500 frequencies in all of our programs.
Wow.
And so what we did with the Lyme, nobody has really come up with any solution for Lyme disease. Unless you happen to catch it within the first 10 days, you might be able to deal with it with an antibiotic. But there just isn't. If there was something out there, I would have found it. And we wouldn't be having this conversation today because I would have used their whatever it was to overcome the issues my kids were facing.
Right.
But we just didn't find anything that lasted. And, people will use like a rife machine. I believe in all these frequency devices because that's the core way to heal is using frequencies. And the
I
world uses
agree.
it. They just don't always talk about it as a frequency. Like you never see frequencies anywhere on any kind of supplement bottle. Like they don't talk about it. So when we start talking about it, it becomes kind of foreign because people hear EMF. Those are bad frequencies, bad, bad, bad. But we deal with those kinds of things. Our frequencies, there's nothing that could do any harm. 100% can do zero harm. And we even take, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this, but there's a little red circle up in the other side of the NIKKI, and it's around my Bluetooth. And what we do is once you've got your frequencies on the device, turn your Bluetooth off because you don't need to have those EMFs coming into your body because our system is zero EMFs once you turn off the Bluetooth. And you don't need the Bluetooth to operate. Like if you take an Apple Watch or any of these tracking devices, you have to have the Bluetooth active, otherwise you lose functionality.
Right.
And you don't do that with us because we've had to take that into consideration because people that have Lyme are extremely sensitive to EMF. And so we dealt with that. And we did this coming after people that have Lyme disease. But what we ended up doing after we saw that we had a solution, we said, okay, look, we just solved a major issue with Lyme disease and everything that comes with it. Why don't we take this process that we've created and start applying it to general wellness, like sleep and stress, pain, inflammation, things that people with Lyme experience in a profound way, but people without Lyme also experience sleep issues and pain, and they don't have to have Lyme to have all those things. They don't have to have Lyme to get mold or to have co-infections or to have um, parasites. Like those just come. And
Right.
if your system's compromised, they're going to attack your system. And so we bring those kinds of programs to the table as well. Like my sleep program has over 200 frequencies that go into the body at exactly the same time. And what happens when you're sleeping is your whole system de-stresses. So your shoulders drop. You're actually comfortable. You're relaxed. And so while you're sleeping, your body is starting to heal the things that have gone on during the day that have possibly compromised your system. And so you wake up feeling energized and you feel a little pain free. Like there's all kinds of things that can go on based on what you do, what's going on with you. But it's something that the response that we're getting from the wellness community is pretty profound
I would
because
imagine
oh,
so.
the
Yeah.
results are crazy.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I teach on holistic sleep, stress, and self-care as a result of having those challenges from dealing with Lyme, dealing with, having a business, anything like that, right? You're going to deal with a lot of those challenges. And I have been using the sleep program at night, and I have to say that I have been sleeping much better. I'm curious though, particularly with women in menopause and having changes in our hormones, and we need that to be able, to sleep. I wonder how that really affects that aspect of it. Do you
Well,
know?
we've got programs that will help with the hormonal issues that both men and women go through.
Yep.
And one of the nice things about there's so many people out there that track different they can track their sleep through an Apple Watch or a Whoop and I was just going to show you, I just pulled up. So I use a Whoop because it demonstrates like instead of me just waking up in the morning and wondering, I use a Whoop. And so this just happened to be my score this morning and so my sleep you can see is extremely
Nice.
good.
Yep.
My stress levels don't exist. My recovery, which is 89%,
Hmm.
that's recovery from the stuff that has gone on the day before.
Right.
And so my body is operating at a very good place. And we love the fact that there's a lot of people with tracking devices.
Yes, I've also used a Hume tracker for the same thing for sleep and just to see where you are, same type thing, it sounds like. And that's helpful to be able to see the trends of, you think that you're not sleeping, but sometimes you actually are getting some sleep. So it
That's
is
right.
good to have those metrics to look back on and see, and also to tie that into a little bit on, what are you eating that may have affected your sleep, or were you drinking something that you weren't supposed to be drinking, right?
Yeah, I
People need
agree.
some metrics.
I agree. And so our sleep program has lots of those things built right in it. Because one of the things that we recognize is you got to remember the basis of everything that we do stem from Lyme disease. And because that was what I went after as a desperate dad with my kids. And we just have learned so much about how to come against things that are attacking our bodies. And it's just equipping the body to have the right information to deal with the issues that it has to deal with.
That's great. And so the
But
other thing that we often deal with as well is like brain fog. So does the NIKKI with the frequencies, does it have any direct influence on like neuroplasticity?
absolutely. And that'll be under one of the programs we call it for Lyme is emotion. And you will find a lot of the brain fog will lift through those things. We do too. We do. One of the things that we learned with people that have Lyme is their vagus nerve isn't very active. And in most cases, it's not active. And when you discover that, then you know that your parasympathetic isn't working because
Right.
that's what controls your vagus nerve. And so if your parasympathetic isn't working, that means you have no natural healing ability when you sleep. And so we change that. And so we work from those bases in your health. We're not trying to give you a drug to replace, we're activating those things. So when you activate your vagus nerve, all of a sudden your immune system is working better. Everything starts to work better because your vagus nerve controls so many things within your system. And so we've just learned a lot. And when you start applying everything we've learned with Lyme to general wellness, oh my goodness, I mean, like you get shocked on the change that happens. We've got doctors that tell us they've never seen inflammation markers drop the way they do when you wear a NIKKI. And I'm a big believer that all disease begins with, this is my own personal thing. I believe that all disease begins with inflammation and parasites. Those are the two culprits that trigger everything. And it's everybody's nobody is immune to that. And so you need
100%.
to you need to support your immune system
Hmm.
to combat that. If you've got a good, strong immune system, you're going to battle, your immune system is going to deal with the molds and the parasites. Like there's a difference when you're compromised with Lyme disease because your immune system just doesn't have the authority that it used to have.
Right. I mean, the body is meant to heal. And if it is deteriorated in some way, like Lyme disease or other co-infections, then it is compromised. And so is everything else. You're going to struggle to heal. So,
That's right.
I'm just fascinated that you were able to put basically, this red light therapy of a sauna almost in something that you can wear on your wrist.
Yeah. And red light therapy is, that's exactly what it is. It's a frequency from red light. And what they do is you see all these different places with red light therapy, which is great. They just pulse that color at different rates to get different results.
Mm.
We don't use red light, green light, blue light. We don't use any of those, even though there's a program that has all of those.
Hmm.
But that's not the driver because those are just natural one frequencies. You need other resources, and there is a ton of resources out there. And like we're just getting ready to go on to a Netflix. Well, it's not a Netflix. It's called Superhuman 2. It's a documentary, and the documentary is on frequencies. And hopefully that's going to release sometime before September. And we're, I think, the only product that's actually being demonstrated. And it's a documentary about frequencies. And we're just a guest. And but people have been using us in that documentary. And so we're all over the documentary because people are using it in demonstrating some of the benefits. And
That's
so it,
fantastic. I love that. I actually just saw the first one a couple weeks ago.
yeah, that was about the unexplained.
Yeah,
And it was done very well.
it
And
was.
the response they got from a global perspective was extremely good. It was a very high profile documentary.
Mm.
And I believe that this here is going to opened the eyes to a lot of people because they just don't understand about frequencies. Even when I was being interviewed and I got asked a question and I got asked, so how do you create a frequency? And the interesting thing is I don't create frequencies. I capture frequencies.
I was going to
I
say you harness
believe
them.
that's right. I believe, in fact, I told them, I said, the only way that you can understand that answer from me is you would have to understand my faith. And I said, do you want me to share that on this documentary? And she says, go for it. And so I did it. You want me to tell you what I said?
Yes.
Okay. I said, I walk with a dude named Jesus, and I believe the Bible to be true. And if I believe the Bible to be true, I have to believe that when he spoke everything into being, that really happened. And that's just frequencies, no different than you and I having a conversation. And they say he's the same today as he was then. So why would he not restore his creation using frequencies? And she yells, cut. And I laughed. And I said, so this isn't going to make the documentary. And she says, are you kidding me? We're going to end the documentary with that statement. And
That's
so it's
fantastic.
interesting because that's where frequencies all came from. Is in the beginning they were created and they're out there. Look at every plant carries its own
Everything
frequency.
is frequency, right? Our voice, every little thing that is around us is emitting frequencies all the time. And getting back into nature and getting outside and really starting to get back in touch with the natural frequencies instead of all of the things that we're dealing with technology and electronics and being, those EMFs getting in the way,
Yeah.
right? We just need to get back to the the nice frequencies, right? I play sound bowls and I do meditation and I'm all about that. It's all about calming.
Well, the programs that are actually put on the NIKKI during the documentary is their programs, and they're specialized in meditation. And so we captured their programs and put them on a NIKKI, and it's profound. I mean, some of the people that are very used to using their programs, they rave about how everything gets heightened when you run a NIKKI with that program on it, particularly when you're running the program at the same time and you're hearing it, and then you've got your NIKKI playing it and your cells are hearing it. It's a profound experience that they're coming back with us with their results.
Wow. So they have like a guided meditation that they're listening to while they're watching or wearing the Nikki, which is enhancing what their cells are doing. Is that
That's
right?
right. Yeah, and they don't even have to listen to the guided meditation. They can just put the NIKKI on with that meditation program on, and the only thing that hears it is your cellular network.
Wow.
And but they recognize they recognize those words. I've got one frequency program, I'm going to just share this, that we captured, and it's the Lord's Prayer. And it's profound the results that you get from it. We don't even quite understand
Wow.
how that can be, but it's God. I mean, that's the only thing that we can contribute it to. And so we're just in such a fascinating space because nobody has really gone down this in a public way to really explain. Even when I did my podcast, so I created a podcast a couple years ago, and it wasn't to talk about NIKKI. It wasn't to bring people on that have used NIKKI so they can share their stories. We brought on people that use frequencies in their practices so they can explain to the consumer how their frequencies work. Because the consumer needs to understand that most of the things that they do where they get benefits are frequency generated. And so we wanted people to start to understand the world of frequencies, not the world of NIKKI. NIKKI just fits in that world.
Right.
And so it's been very positive.
So on that note, as technology matures and it's rapidly maturing, right, and advancing. Do you see NIKKI moving from a wellness device more to like some type of a prescriptive medical tool to be used?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think that
already I could say that if you have Lyme disease, if it truly eliminates it, then yes, right?
it is a yes, but there's major hurdles in front of us, and it usually falls under some form of health authorities
Right.
on how you represent what you do. And today we're a wellness device. And they, if you look at the way we describe what we do, it's kind of like the same restrictions that a supplement company has. If you take your supplement bottle, there's not very much description on there that tells you what's in it, but it doesn't tell you a lot about what it does.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like we're in the same box when it comes to descriptions. But we know, look, Lyme disease is a massive, major disease that nobody has been able to overcome, or at least they've never released it. And we've just found a path. And we've helped, like I said, thousands and thousands of people overcome Lyme disease into a point that you don't have to wear the product anymore. And when you buy the product is $1,000. We started at 2,500. And we've had people ask us if we can move the price up because their patients have the wherewithal financially to pay more and they're willing to pay more. And we said, no, we're not changing our pricing and we're not removing it off our site. Our goal is to get it down. There's three goals that I set for myself when I started going through all of this before I really got into it. There's three things that happen when you have Lyme disease that I noticed. One, the first thing that happens is you lose your health. The second thing that happens is you drain your bank account because you're having to pay to support that. And then some people can't even go back to work.
Absolutely.
It just gets so severe. And the third, families split because of it, because there's been so many conversations about, no, it's just in their head. And so families see the financial strain that is happening, and doctors are telling them there's nothing to grab a hold of to support what you're doing. And so those are the three things that we committed as a company and as humans to go after. It's not a matter of filling our bank accounts. It's a matter of helping people get their health back where they can start to replenish their bank accounts and salvage their relationships. And it's not always just in the family, it's friends and there's all kinds of situations that happen
It's your
because
work, it's your daily life. I mean, I know because I suffered for 3 years or longer, right, with that and was in a wheelchair. I mean, I was debilitated to the point where it was tough for me, and I was on 9, 10 different prescriptions on a daily basis and had gone to multiple different specialists because I had some physical injuries, but I was never given a definitive answer as to, how you're going to move forward and fix this and come back to normal. So, I love that you're wanting to help those that can't afford it because those are the ones that need it the most. And oh, there's a lot of us out there suffering.
yeah, so we brought it down from 2,500 for the Lyme program to 1,000 with the Lyme program. And I think it was at the 15th of this month, it's Lyme Awareness Month. So from the 15th to the end of the month, I've cut it in half again. And so it's only $500.
Wow.
And if it can stick, fantastic. I don't think it'll stick this round, but I think we're really getting close. And so, but close could be a year before we get the world's in a kind of a fickle place at the moment. So all kinds of pricing and my trend for lowering my product price has been interrupted a bit just because of the trend that's going on in the world right now.
Right.
And so we've
But
just kind
I
of put it on hold, but we're throwing it out still for $500 just to give people at least a two-window break for the people that do get to see this.
It
They'll
is
get a
so well worth it because the amount of money and time and energy and just lack of feeling well that you will spend, the $500 is a drop in the bucket compared to the thousands that you'll spend when you go to the doctor and not get answers, right?
right? So the interesting thing today, if you buy the NIKKI's always $300, and it always comes with one program. And it's a seasonal program that we built in the beginning. So we've got a program for spring, summer, fall, and winter. So whatever season you buy your NIKKI in, you get that seasonal program for life. But then you get to become a member. And this membership, you're going to get a bundle of frequencies that are over and above the Lyme. And I think there's 25 that get released in the first year. And there's no cost to that for the first year, because so that's going to come with your Lyme program, because that's your focus. But there is more that comes with that, because there is life after Lyme. In fact, I'm going to start a podcast on our network. Instead of having it to be a Lyme support or something like that, we're going to call it Life After Lyme, because we're seeing so many people overcome and get their lives back. And the stories that come back, even if it's simple stories like, I can do my gardening again, or there's one woman that was so excited because she felt like baking again. Like you start getting your life back, and it's so good. And it's what's really interesting is we do get the odd return, because when people don't use things properly, they say don't, it doesn't work, and so they send it back. But today, when they send it back, they buy it back within 30 days, because they realize, oh my goodness, it was working. I was sleeping better. I was operating with less pain. I did have less stress.
Yeah, and I think because it is a frequency-based thing, and there's so many wearables out there today that don't necessarily really do what this does. I mean, this really packs a lot into a tiny device that you can wear.
Yeah.
It's invisible, but it's mighty. I mean, it
Yeah.
does an awful lot. So you just don't realize until you're not maybe not wearing it how impactful it is.
And that's why we named it what we named it. So it's funny, we were just sitting around one night trying to dream up a name, me and the team. And the president of Free Medicare, her name's Nicole, but everybody calls her Nikki. And so, and everybody loves NIKKI. And so I just said, as a little gesture, and I said, we should call it NIKKI, because everybody loves NIKKI. And, the team, they laugh and they carry on, and we continue on. But I didn't. I decided to Google the name, and it means victor of the people. And so I asked Nicole, I said, would you mind operating under your name, Nicole, outside of this office? Because I'd really like to call the product NIKKI. And so that's where the name came from. And it is truly the victor of the people. The more programs, once you're a member, you'll end up over time having access to hundreds of programs.
Hmm.
For example, one of the programs will be all the vitamins. And so you can run that program, and it doesn't matter which vitamin I know that people don't take every vitamin, but when they do get something with that vitamin in it, the body's going to be aware and go and use those nutrients before they flush through your system. We're doing the same thing with every vegetable. So you turn that thing on while you're eating, and if you're eating broccoli, you're going to get the nutrients that you need from that before it flushes through your system. So
Wow.
there's so many interesting things that we're learning on how we can help the body utilize what it was created to do,
Yeah,
because we compromise it.
that's amazing that you'd be able to really hone in on anyone's specific nutrient deficiencies, it sounds like, and you don't have to buy all the supplements and kind of guess and maybe even overdose on supplements or have, contradictions of things that you're taking.
That's
It'll
right.
really, kind of hone in on what it is that your body's needing and asking for at that moment.
That's right. Because you can't take 50 or 100 or 500 supplements at a time because you're going to OD your system.
Yep.
But you can put all those same frequencies into the body because the body's only going to use what it needs. And
Mm,
the body's not designed to harm itself. And like it
right.
goes into protection mode all the time. It's trying to help itself, not harm itself. And so it could never OD on anything that we do. It just won't use the frequencies if it doesn't need them. Falls
Right.
on deaf ears.
I mean, I suppose that's the same with supplements, right? If your body doesn't need it, then it most likely will just flush out, I suppose. But
That's right. But the thing is, with the supplement, you can't take all the frequencies that your body might need. And so you might be hitting some. With frequencies, you have to be right over the target. You can't be close and get an effect.
mm,
You have to be exact.
yep.
And we're exact.
And so the frequencies know exactly versus you, how to penetrate into the cell, how to give the nutrients that's needed just based off of the frequencies that the body requires.
No, no,
No?
you've got to reverse that a little bit. The frequencies don't tell the body. We just put it in, and the cellular network decides what it needs.
The
So
body
it,
decides.
that's right.
Yep.
As soon as we force the body, if we're making that decision, then we're forcing it to do something, and that's where you can OD and do things. We
Right.
let the body deal with its own.
That makes
It does
sense.
all the heavy lifting. It makes all the decisions.
Yep. That makes total sense. And it's just drawing what it needs.
Yeah.
That's
I
fantastic.
love what we do. We see so many people overcome so many things, and this was just a move to help my kids.
Well, it's been an amazing move, and I'm so grateful that I was able to take part in it and experience it because it has been a wonderful thing for me. So I look forward to using it more, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. It's been great having you as a guest. And I have to say, you're my very first male guest on the show, and it has been wonderful to have you
Well,
on.
what we'd like to do is I'd like to give you a Nikki that you can create whatever kind of if it's a contest or gesture or whatever you want to do for whoever you want to do it with. And so we'll give you a Nikki and you decide on whose wrist you want that Nikki to go on. And like I said, it can come through the form of just a simple contest, or you can just choose somebody that's really struggling and that could use a little help.
That would be amazing. We so greatly appreciate that. And we will I also be able to find you and the Nikki at it's wellness.wearenikki.com, correct?
No, it's just wearenikki.com.
Wearenikki.com. Okay, excellent. So that's the website. And for those of our listeners that are interested in purchasing a Nikki, we're offering a 10% discount using my promo code limitless10. And you'll get 10% off of your entire order. Follow us on Facebook. Please leave a comment for this podcast episode on this discussion. Hopefully you loved it. And, if you are, struggling with Lyme and you're having major issues, leave your story here and we will gift away the Nikki to someone that is deserving from listening to the podcast.
Nice.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen. This was wonderful.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's great. I'm the first male.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.